I, I call and invite myself over to our 27 congregations and fellowships just to introduce myself. I say 5 minutes or less, and every now and then, well, most of the time, oh, you can preach if you want. And so I'm working my way up to Fresno. I've been to Easterby, and today I'm at UPC, and I'll be at Westminster in December. In the meantime, I'll be other places. I have been a Presbyterian pastor for the past 38 years, and I've done two 15-year calls to a Presbyterian church in Las Vegas, which was a great joy. Then 15 years working outside of the bounds of the PCUSA, but right down the street at Pilgrim Armenian Congregational Church here in Fresno. My father was the pastor of First Armenian Presbyterian Church forever, or for 21 years. And that's when my family moved to Fresno. They moved while I was in college, so I'd be here for the summers during the good times in Fresno. This has been quite a week, hasn't it? I look forward to next Sunday. Not because I'm not happy to be here, but next Sunday it's going to be like 95 degrees for the high. At least that's what my phone says. I won't believe it until next Sunday. One of the things that I sense in our presbytery is that there's a lot of congregational elements to us. Like we stand here alone, and I'm looking at our congregations and I see, the gifts that this one has could be so wonderful for the gifts or for the needs that this other congregation has, and to somehow work us together. We have a pastor who serves a church on the other side of 5, and it's the only PCUSA church we have over there, and he feels isolated. If you're a Baptist or a congregational pastor, okay, you signed up for that. But as a Presbyterian, there's no excuse for that. So a couple of Fridays ago, we got 2 other couples together with them, other pastors and their spouses, and they spent 24 hours together, and it was wonderful because one of them doesn't feel so all alone out there, isolated, and it underlines the truth. The truth is that we aren't isolated. We live in life together, and sometimes living life together is not so much fun, but it's always the right thing. Before we hear from the first chapter of Ruth, I'm going to start with the story, because the story of Ruth is the story of how so many of us ended up here in Fresno, not just because we were called to serve a church here, but our people are here because of the same reason Naomi and her sons were in Moab. The story is that last night I spent 2 hours at Valley Children's visiting with a 16-year-old young man, but a child because he was 16, in pediatric ICU. Imagine if you're 16 years old and the diagnosis is not one with a worldly, temporal hope, and you're there all alone. Well, he wasn't alone. There was 8 of us in the room. It was too many, but there were 8 of us in the room. And it allows us to walk through that dark valley when we know we aren't alone. David writes about the Lord is my shepherd, and David feels the presence of the Lord in the rod and the staff. And part of who we are is we make the divine tangible by acting in a loving way with our arms, our minds, and our hearts wide open. We're going to hear a beautiful song in just a moment. Hear the word of the Lord from the first chapter of Ruth. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem in Judah went to live in the country of Moab, he, his wife, and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went into the country of Moab and remained there. But Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. These took Moabite wives. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. When they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, so that the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Could it get any worse? Not for this woman. She even lost her name there at the end of that first, the introduction to the song. Because in that time, you were defined, your life was bounded by the man you were married to, or your firstborn son, or your father. And she had none of those things in a land where she was an alien, an outsider. Then she started to return with her daughters-in-law from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had considered his people, Israel, so that Judah was doing all right now. She had considered his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she had been living, she and her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on their way to go back to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back each of you to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find security, each of you in the house of your husband." Then she kissed them, and they wept out loud. They said to her, "No, we'll return with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that they may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. Even if I thought there was hope for me, even if I should have a husband tonight and bear sons, would you then wait until they are grown? Would you then refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, it has been far more bitter for me than for you, because the hand of the Lord has turned against me." Then they wept out loud again. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. So Naomi said, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, and this is what I've been waiting for, "Do not press me to leave you or to turn back from following you. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die. There I will be buried. May the Lord do thus and so to me, and more as well, if even death parts me from you." When Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more to her. So the two of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they came to Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women said, "Is this Naomi?" She said to them, "Call me no longer Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt bitterly with me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has dealt harshly with me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?" So Naomi returned together with Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, who came back with her from the country of Moab. They came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. I think the story is told just to place this beautiful song, Ruth's song, in some kind of context. Now, that's not true. But my presence here, this story of Ruth really resonates deeply with me. I'm an Armenian. My family came here not because of any crisis. My family came here 4 months after I was born from Lebanon, because my father was called to serve an Armenian Protestant church in Worcester, Massachusetts. But the Armenian community there, the Armenian community in Fresno, the Armenian community around the tri-state area in New York, were all here because of crisis. We have people here filling the Central Valley because of crisis from some other place. Most recently, we have people who've come here from the former Soviet states, including many who will be coming from the Ukraine, I imagine, in the near future. We have people who are here because of crisis from India and Pakistan, particularly from the region in and around Punjab. We have people here from all over Southeast Asia. We have a wonderful Hmong community and Lao community here, a Cambodian community, Vietnamese community here in the Central Valley because of crisis. We have people who've come from south of the line that we've drawn that says this is the United States of America, who've come here and established themselves and have become part of our life together, whether we like it or not recently. But prior to that time, we're all here because of some kind of crisis that happened over there. We may have to go back 5 generations, 10 generations, 15 generations, but something took us from the place where we were and brought us here. It wasn't just because there was more opportunity here, there was no opportunity there. And it is a song we need to hear these days because this is going to happen more and more frequently, because the planet on which we live is making it difficult for human beings to live in certain places where they were used to living. And so this story of Ruth is an important one for us as people go from here to there. And there becomes here for them. And how do we respond as God's people? So there was a crisis, and there was migration from Judah to Moab. Then the story takes a darker turn. It was already bad, and it got worse. Naomi is bereft. No family left, no people left, no identity left. So she goes back to her people and a place where things were looking up again. And then the conversation she has with her daughters-in-law is a conversation where they understood the way that the world was structured, the way that society was structured. See, if they were going to marry back into the family, they'd have to marry the other sons, but she had no sons left. So stay here. There's a way for you. You can go back to your home and maybe meet a nice guy or maybe meet anyone who isn't married by this time in their lives, and you can get connected again. But there's no connection left with me. There is no place, and now if you stay here, there might be a small place for you. Take a new track. And then Ruth sings her song. It really resonates in truly open congregations, in truly welcoming churches. Her song is about her chosen family. It's not by blood. It's not by who I came from and who I'm married to. I choose you, Naomi. I choose you and everything about you. Your God will be my God. Your people, my people. You are my chosen family, not by blood, but by commitment, a commitment that is grounded in the love that I have for you and the love that you've shown to me. Now, there's no change for Naomi. All of a sudden, the birds start singing for Naomi just because Ruth chose her as part of her family now, her people, all that. Everything comes up roses. Nah, Naomi is very much aware that her life is full of thorns. It doesn't change. I mean, she's looking and, life stinks. She tells